Welcome to this presentation by Pathways, the UniConnect partnership based across Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland. In this video, we're going to outline how you can support vulnerable students with their decision-making in regards to higher education. By vulnerable students, we mean those who would be classed as looked after children, or those students with disabilities or long-term conditions, even if they're not on an education, health and care plan. During this presentation, we'll cover the following things. Firstly, we'll look at what the national progression rates to higher education are for looked after children and SEN students. Secondly, we'll define some key terms about further education and higher education, plus different HE routes that you might not be aware of in order to best support vulnerable students. Finally, we'll give a quick introduction to student finance and go into detail about some of the additional support available for looked after children and SEN students. Hopefully by the end of this video, you should feel more confident in signposting toward information and advice that can help these young people make an informed decision about their education options moving forward. To help you understand why looked after children and children with SEN require additional support when it comes to making decisions about their education, I'm going to go into some stats from a national level. These have been taken from the Explore Education Statistics site provided by the government. I'll put the link in the YouTube video description if you'd like to explore these further. When we define children in need, we are talking about a group supported by children's social care who have safeguarding and welfare needs. This includes children on child in need plans, children on child protection plans, looked after children and disabled children. All of these children have needs identified through a children's social care assessment or because of their disability, meaning they are expected to require services and support in order to have the same health and development opportunities as other children. In 2019, the government published their review of children in need. The review's key findings of data analysis stated that the evidence showed children in need, on average, have poorer outcomes at every stage of education than their peers. They start behind other children in the early years and have a widening attainment gap throughout school. They are also more likely than other children not to be in education, employment or training after age 18. As educators or professionals who work with young people, our collective ambition for children who have needed a social worker is the same as for any other child. They should be safe, benefit from education, and have the opportunity to succeed. It's an important role of schools to provide children with a world-class education. And where children have experienced adversity and trauma or are disabled, achieving high standards in education often requires support to recognise and overcome barriers that they face to attendance, learning, behaviour, and mental health. There were 860,130 pupils in state-funded primary, state-funded secondary, special and pupil referral units in 2020 that were known to have been in need in the last 6 years. This is equivalent to 1 in 10 pupils, or 3 in every classroom on average. Over a third, about 37%, had a special education need compared to 15% of all pupils. Half were eligible for free school meals compared to 17% of all pupils. And 1/5 achieved a grade 5 or above in GCSE English and Maths compared to half of all pupils, while their average attainment 8 score was 30.3 compared to 50.2 for all pupils. And over a quarter of compulsory school-aged children who have been in need in the last 6 years were persistently absent from school, compared to 13% of all pupils. When we look at the progression to higher education for looked after children, we can see that it falls behind the national average. Just 13% of pupils who were looked after continuously for 12 months or more at 31st of March 2015 progressed to higher education by age 19 by 2018-19, compared to 43% of all other pupils. Progression rates for children looked after continuously for 12 months or more increased in the latest year after a slight fall in 2017-18. The progression rate to high tariff higher education for children looked after continuously for at least 12 months has remained at 1% since 2009-10, whilst 11% of other pupils progressed to high tariff higher education in 2018-19. Progression rates for pupils with SEN lag well behind those for other pupils too. Just 8.9% of pupils with an education, health and care plan, or EHCP, or a statement of SEN progressed to HE by age 19 by 2018-19, compared to 20.6% of pupils on SEN support and 43% for pupils with no SEN. The progression rate for pupils with an EHCP or statement of SEN increased in the latest year, whilst the rates fell for pupils on SEN support and pupils with no identified SEN. But some of this change may reflect changes in the composition of the SEN group over time. Just 1.2% of pupils with an EHCP or a statement of SEN, and 3.3% of those on SEN support progressed to high tariff higher education in 2018-19, despite an increasing trend in 2009-10. The progression rate for other pupils was around 12.5%. The Reef Centre's Dr. Neil Harrison summarised 7 steps that are needed to increase the number of care leavers and other care experienced young people entering higher education in England. Many of these steps can also be applied to students with SEN or other students who have faced disruption to their education. I focused on 5 of the 7 steps that I think professionals in schools can have some influence on. Firstly, let's look at raising GCSE attainment. Most care leavers with 5 good GCSEs already enter higher education. Disruption and trauma can stop most students achieving this level. So how can schools, virtual schools, and other networks work together to support good GCSE attainment? Could you run after-school homework clubs, signpost at other quiet spaces, or take advantage of national tutoring programmes? Secondly, we should raise our expectations on what these students can achieve. Many care leavers report that their own expectations of themselves are framed by how teachers, carers, social workers, and advisors view them as students. Care leavers often talk about how adults expect them to have poor outcomes and how demoralising this can be. Similar views are felt by students with SEN or young adult carers. So how can you as a professional communicate high life expectations to vulnerable students? Thirdly, we need to support learning through trauma-informed schools. Young people who have experienced social care are often trying to deal with the trauma associated with being in care and what came before. Many schools are unaware of the challenges this poses when it comes to engaging with school. So what CPD can you do to understand how childhood trauma impacts on engagement with learning? Fourthly, we need good information on pathways for mid-range attainers, because mid-range GCSE results, and particularly students admit maths or English, can sometimes shut students out of level 3 courses that can lead towards higher education. We need strong advocates and good advice to get these mid-range attainers onto ambitious courses and show them how BTECs or T-levels or intermediate apprenticeships can all lead to higher education. And fifthly, we need smooth and supportive mental health transitions. Considering higher education can create new anxieties for students, especially those in local authority care or those with SEN and other long-term conditions. The switch from children to adult mental health support can be massive, and so it's important that concerns about mental health support don't stop these students from entering higher education. Many universities and colleges will have dedicated student welfare and support teams, so please share that knowledge with your students. The final 2 steps of Dr. Harrison's work focused on removing the local authority postcode lottery and having stronger second chance routes into higher education. These are national issues that need changing at a government level, but if you feel committed to helping all students achieve their potential, then please campaign and advocate for change where you can. I'll put the link to Dr. Harrison's YouTube video that outlines his 7 steps into the video description. Step 4 in supporting vulnerable students to higher education is where pathways and individual higher education institutions can come in, and where the rest of this presentation will focus. We want to provide you with information and resources to help you in your conversations with young people in need. To start with, I'm going to quickly define the difference between further and higher education. And if this seems like basic stuff, I do apologise, but for a number of students we work with, there still seems to be some confusion over the two. Further education then refers to any education choices that students make after their 16th birthday or after year 11. Sometimes it's talked about as a student's post-16 options, and it might include studying A-levels, level 3 BTECs, or the new T-levels at either a further education college like Loughborough or Leicester College, or by going to a 6th form in the local area. Everyone needs to stay in some form of education until they are at least 18 years old. Higher education applies to any courses that are taken after a student's 18th birthday. It's often mistaken as just being courses or qualifications taken at university, but actually includes any form of education at level 4 and above. Different types of qualifications have different levels attached to them, and they go from level 1 to level 8. Higher education qualifications at level 4 and above include higher national certificates, higher national diplomas, 2-year foundation degrees, bachelor's degrees, as well as higher apprenticeships and degree apprenticeships. Any postgraduate qualifications are at those levels 7 and 8. There are lots of reasons people choose to study higher education courses, and they will be quite personal from individual to individual, including deciding not to go on to higher education. Many people study at HE to access better employment prospects, and for some jobs, having a higher education qualification is necessary to gain employment. For example, all new police officers in England and Wales will have to be educated to degree level now. But even if a student doesn't have a specific job or career in mind, they might find lots of benefits to staying in education. This includes learning more about a subject they really enjoy, developing new skills or attributes, getting an opportunity to meet new people from around the country or the world, and a chance to take up new hobbies or sports. The student may choose to move to a different part of the country and develop their independence, but even enrolling at a local provider will develop some of those life skills like time management, taking responsibility for their own goals, and budgeting their money. Entry routes into higher education are also really varied. While an established route onto higher education, and particularly university degrees, which is one that most students may have heard most about, is by taking 3 A-levels. It's important for students to know that they can access higher education through vocational routes, such as level 3 BTEC extended diplomas and T-levels. While a lot of students go on to study higher education straight from sixth form or college, many people take a gap year or more before returning to study. And the door to higher education doesn't close at 18. This is important for students in these vulnerable groups to hear, and it can communicate those high life expectations to them, even if their education has been disrupted. For some students, virtual tours are a great way for them to explore different university options from the comfort of a classroom or their own home. As the COVID-19 pandemic stopped a lot of face-to-face visits, this accelerated the increase of using immersive technology to show off campuses. And for many students with disabilities, or those who may otherwise find it hard to travel to open days, there's been a real benefit in signposting virtual tours. UCAS is the website that explores lots of information on courses at higher education, and they also have a list of virtual tours too. From University of Aberdeen to York St John University, you can virtually visit providers across the length and breadth of the country. Some of these are really snazzy, immersive experiences, and others are YouTube playlists, but all aim to give you an insight into what spaces and places are available. Students with disabilities may need to do additional research to find out about accessible buildings and other adjustments in place. These virtual tours can give a good jumping off point. I'm going to hand the video over to some of my colleagues who are going to show you what some of these virtual tours look like. But I'd also like to let you know that we have a video presentation that goes into more detail about how to use virtual tours to achieve Gatsby Benchmark 7. If you're watching this as part of the University of Leicester's Teachers and Advisors Conference, then this will showcase live on 1st of July.
Hello and welcome to another Pathways video. I'm Joe, and here with me today I have Zach.
Hi, how you doing?
So today I thought we'd go through a virtual tour of the DMU campus, as I was a student there for 5 years from 2014. I did my undergraduate there in English language and creative writing, and then did a 2-year master's degree in English language teaching. So it's fair to say that I know quite a bit about the campus. So I thought I'd give Zach a bit of a tour of what we've got around the university, and hopefully you guys can pick up something new as well. So without further ado, let's get started straight away.
Nice one. I'm looking forward to it. I can't think of anyone better to show me around as well, Joe.
Oh, you are kind. Thank you very much. Right, so here we are on the DMU campus. So as you can see, it's a very spacious campus. We've got a lot of green space. Here we are in front of the VJ Patel building, which is our newest building and probably our real showpiece. A lot of money was spent on redeveloping and redesigning the building. This is the Art and Design and Humanities building. but we'll take more of a look at it later, as we will down here at the bottom, the Riverside Cafe as well. And we've also got the DMU surgery, which is on campus. So if you choose to stay on campus, you do have that facility of have a GP right on your doorstep. But the first building that we're going to take a look at is this one here, which is the Queen's Building, is the Faculty of Technology. So if we take a look inside, here we have this lovely little gantry above the main auditorium. Different doors to classrooms, labs, lecture halls, loads of different types of rooms available. Got seating space. It's a really cool space. Bit of information for you. It was opened by the Queen, hence why it's called Queen's Building, in 1993. And it's very high tech. Its temperature is regulated by vents on top of the building. How exciting. And so from there, we're going to take a look at the engineering lab. So here we can see lots and lots of stuff going on. We've got DMU Racing. So they are a racing team affiliated with the university, and actually the students represent the university in different racing events. They work on the car, engineer the car, design the car, and they actually put it through races with other universities. So if that's something that you're interested in, don't necessarily have to study it, but you can get involved by all means.
Hello, my name's Natalie and I'm one of the Pathways Hub and Events Assistants. Today I'm going to be walking through the virtual tour of Falmouth University. So on this main landing page, we've got these Fs, which symbolise different subjects departments within the university. So you can see photography here and fashion and textiles here. If we take a closer look, we can click onto it and have a look at the studios and workspaces within that department, as well as the various courses that fall under that one department. Alternatively, you could pick a relevant subject from the list here and take, again, a closer look at the resources and facilities that you have within there. We also have these yellow circles which represent points of interest within the university, such as the library, the bar, and some cafes. Again, you can click on Campus Live here and take a closer look at any individual cafe and bar you'd like to know more about. We've got these bed symbols here on the right-hand side, which symbolize the student accommodation. When we click on one of these, it takes us to an example of a student bedroom, which could be where you could be staying if you were a student at this university. Falmouth University is also split into two campuses. So actually we can look at the other campus, which is just 20 minutes away from the first one. Over here, you find the same thing. You've got the Fs, which symbolize the different subjects, and also the circles with points of interest. My favorite feature is at this particular campus. And if we just rotate the page around here with your mouse, you will see that on this side, we've got a selection of beaches where students can go to relax, socialize, or perhaps spot dolphins and seals sometimes. Just to give you a sense of what these beaches look like, here are some of the images you can see when you click on them. So that's it for this whistle stop tour. Thank you very much for watching.
I'm now going to guide you through the student funding package available from Student Finance England, including how to apply, how to repay, and where to go for more information. This is available to all students regardless of background, and I'll talk about your students and hope you'll be able to pass on the information to them about what they could be eligible for. After the general information, we'll talk specifically about additional support for care leavers and learners with SEN, which I hope you'll be able to pass on to any relevant young person you're working with. Before we get started with the detail, some of your students, especially looked after children or those with SEN, might have some uncertainty about taking out a student loan. So let's cover some common myths that are circulating. If you or they want to look into these in more detail, then the Money Saving Expert and Save the Student websites are good places to look. Firstly, no one is going to need the cash up front to go to university. As you'll see soon, students can apply for a tuition fee loan, which is paid directly to the university or college on their behalf when they start their course. Secondly, student loans don't go onto any credit files. They're not like other loans from the bank and so won't affect future credit ratings. Thirdly, it's unlikely that repayments will be missed either, as it's all done automatically, a bit like a tax. So students won't have to remember to make payments. The repayments also stop if earnings drop below a certain amount or if a graduate's not working. So no one is expected to make repayments if they can't afford them. Repayments are based on what's earned in salary, not what a student borrows. So if student A has a friend who takes a smaller loan than them, and in the future they both end up in the same job earning the same amount, they'll both repay the same amount each month. It's just that student A might be repaying longer than their friends. But you can reassure students not to worry too much about repayments, as any outstanding loan they have remaining after 30 years of repayments is wiped off. Don't forget though that the government can change things, although it's unlikely, but it's best to keep yourself and your students informed on the latest guidance and follow what's happening with student loans. So now that we've covered a few myths, hopefully you're starting to feel a little less concerned about talking about student loans, and we can move on to looking at what's available. I'm going to show a video from Student Finance England that outlines some of the financial support that's available to students.
Students at uni or college have two main costs: tuition fees and living costs. The good news is that there's lots of financial help available to help pay for these. There's a tuition fee loan to cover fees and a loan to help pay for living costs, such as rent, books, or travel. As with any other loan, these have to be repaid. The difference here is that student loans don't have to be paid back until the student has finished or left their course and their income is over a certain amount of money. The amount repaid each month will be based on their income, not how much they borrowed. Interest will be charged from the day the first student finance payment is made to the student until the loan is repaid in full or cancelled. There's also extra financial help available for students with a disability or students who have children or an adult who depends on them financially. Unlike loans, these don't usually have to be paid back.
We're going to look a little bit more depth at the tuition fee loans and some of the other support that's out there. So let's look at tuition fee loans first. This is paid directly by Student Finance England to the university or college on a student's behalf. It means that they won't have to pay any tuition fees up front. Don't forget that as it's a loan, students will have to pay it back when they've finished or left their course, but not until they're earning over a certain amount. The maintenance loan is the amount received based on household income and where a student chooses to live while studying. This is money paid to a student to help towards their living costs. It's basically a student income. If a student is a care leaver, they're likely to receive the full award of maintenance loan. They'll need to give Student Finance England a letter from their local council or care authority. And this letter should confirm that they were under the care of the local authority, have now left the care of that local authority, and are a care leaver as defined in the Children Leaving Care Act 2000. Maintenance loan is paid directly into a student's bank account at the start of each term. Now that you know what's available, we'll move on to how to repay it. Don't forget that the majority of funding now is loan-based, so students will be expected to repay, but not until they've left their course and are earning over a certain amount. Key things to remember are that students won't make repayments until they've finished at university or college and their earnings are over a certain amount, which we call the repayment threshold. The amount a student repays is 9% of everything over that threshold amount. If a student's income drops below the threshold, the repayments stop, and any outstanding loan balance is wiped off after 30 years. There is interest charged on student loans from the first day the first payment is made to the student until the loan is repaid in full or cancelled. The interest rate is linked to inflation and will vary depending on individual students' earning circumstances. More information on interest and repayments is available by following the link on screen. For students with disabilities or other long-term conditions, they may be able to access the Disabled Student Allowance. I'm going to show another video from Student Finance England that outlines what the DSA is for.
Disabled Students Allowances, also known as DSAs, are grants to help students pay for any extra essential costs they may have as a direct result of a disability. This includes long-term health conditions, mental health conditions, or specific learning difficulties, such as dyslexia. DSAs are available to help pay for various types of extra support, such as specialist equipment, note takers, or other disability-related costs a student might have during their studies. DSAs can also help pay for a student's travel to and from their uni, college, or placements. What a student will get depends on their individual needs and the type of help they qualify for. DSAs don't depend on a student's household income, and they don't need to be paid back. The application process can take up to 14 weeks, so it's important that students apply early to make sure their DSAs are ready in time for starting their course.
So as that video showed, the Disabled Students Allowance is a targeted grant that can pay for study-related costs which may be incurred at university as a result of a long-term medical condition, sensory impairment, specific learning difference, mental health issue, autistic spectrum condition, or physical disability. It can help pay for non-medical personal helpers, for items of specialist equipment, assistive technology, travel, and other course-related costs. And unlike the maintenance loan, the DSA allowance is neither means tested nor repayable. DSAs are provided by Student Finance England. And while students can receive up to £25,000 per year, this is a maximum amount and most students will receive a lot less. If students have more questions about the DSA, then you can signpost them to the government's websites on the Disabled Students Allowance, which includes details on what DSA can be spent on, eligibility criteria, how to submit evidence, and guidelines on when they will be paid. We're now going to look at student support services quite broadly. Again, I'm going to show another short video that gives the overview on that, and then we'll go into some more specific support that care leavers and students with disabilities can access at further education college or in their higher education studies.
Universities and HE providers offer a variety of services designed to help you get the most out of your time at their institution. You can access these services if you feel that you need some professional support that your friends or family network might not be able to help with. How each institution delivers or names these support services will vary from place to place, but there are common themes. Money or financial support can help with things like paying your tuition fees, budgeting help, and emergency or hardship loans. Health and wellbeing could cover anything like signposting to the local GP or health centre, university-supported counselling services, or healthy living initiatives such as quitting smoking or healthy eating choices. Disability and dyslexia support can provide information on exam adjustments, disabled student allowance advice, or study support. Academic or study support can provide practical tips on how to study at a more independent level. This could include learning how to use the library, how to access computers or laptops on campus, and revision and study techniques. Career support may also be included in these services. You'll be able to access guidance and information on your future ideas, plus practical advice on writing application forms or preparing for interviews. Whilst these services are on offer to all students, there's an expectation that you will approach them if you need help and not the other way around. Studying at higher education is quite different from school or college. At school, for example, you might have a teacher who knows you well and can step in if something's wrong. At university or further education college, you'll be treated much more like an adult, and there's a focus on you finding your own way and asking for help when you need it, rather than expecting someone to do it for you. Find out more about student support by doing an internet search for a particular university or college. Alternatively, you can see short videos that Pathways created on our website at pathways.he.ac.uk or on our YouTube channel.
So we're going to look at specific support available for care leavers and students with disabilities and SEN. We'll start off by looking at extra support for care leavers. And each higher education provider will have different support available. So a student can't guarantee that just because one university offers something, that another one will offer the same. In general, though, HE providers tend to offer support in the way of a designated advisor that specifically works with care leavers. These are people who are likely to have an understanding of a student's circumstances and can advise on what support they're able to access. Some higher education providers will provide help with accommodation, especially during the holidays. This does vary quite a bit between each university, so it's important that students do their research. Other extra support from HE providers for care leavers includes financial advice and support in the way of bursaries, which are pots of free money to students to help with their living costs. And there may also be specific careers advice for care leavers. Finally, there could also be advice and guidance before a student even applies to their higher education provider of choice, and ongoing guidance to help transition into HE. Have a good look at propel.org.uk website, where students are able to clearly see the support available at different higher education providers across the country. The key thing that you should share with students in care is that in order for them to get the advice and guidance for them to start their higher education, they need to answer the care leaver questions on their UCAS application form. The HE providers that they're applying to should then contact that student to guide them through the extra support available. Very finally, I just wanted to highlight some of the support that is available for every looked after child from their local authority to go on to higher education. The support available can vary from one council to another. However, there are certain things that should remain the same. These are that every looked after child should have a pathway plan from their 16th birthday. This sets out how their local authority will help them live independently and should be put together in consultation with the looked after child to make sure that their voice is heard. Every looked after child should also have access to a personal advisor who's there to support them. They should also be entitled to a bursary from their local authority for studying at higher education, which is usually paid in instalments over the duration of their course. Finally, every looked after child should also get support from their local authorities to help with somewhere to live over the holidays. Make sure you encourage any looked after children you know to talk to their local council now to find out what's available. You and your looked after children can find out more about their rights as a care leaver at thebecomecharity.org. They've got a number of fact sheets to find out more about money management, knowing their rights and helping them to reach higher. And propel.org.uk is a website specifically designed to provide care leavers with information about higher education. You can explore courses, view case studies, and get a real life insight into life at higher education. We're now going to look at support for students with disabilities at FE College and University. Disability is classed as a condition that has a substantial and long-term adverse effect on a student's ability to carry out normal day-to-day activities. And not all disabilities are visible, so colleges and universities will include things like dyslexia, ADHD, Crohn's, cancer, diabetes, and mental health conditions under this definition. At both further and higher education, there are designated individuals or teams that can help support students with disabilities. The support on offer may vary from place to place, so it's important to do some research and to encourage students to contact places they might be interested in studying at to find out more. FE colleges may have a team dedicated to supporting students with disabilities or long-term conditions. For example, at one of the local colleges in Leicester, they are called the Additional Learning Support Team. And some of the support they offer includes in-class support, help with receiving assistive technology, exam arrangements, and an assigned learning mentor or coach to help students with their future success. Higher education providers also have a team of people to help students with disabilities and long-term conditions to make the most out of their studies. Depending on the university or college, there may be a central team, or there may be a designated disability support officer for a student subject area. Some of the areas where the student support team might be able to help include exam arrangements, equipment loans, negotiating support in other areas of the university, including library and course tutors, arranging dyslexia assessments, quieter study spaces, and specific study skills support. In the same way that we encourage looked after children to share on their UCAS form that they are care leavers, we would also encourage any students with whom a disability or long-term condition affects them to share this information too. It helps colleges or universities make sure that they are giving them the right support to get the most out of their learning. Information is kept confidential and shouldn't impact on a student's chances of being offered a place on a course. The last few slides of this presentation are going to cover a number of frequently asked questions that we've received from vulnerable students. First up, many students with SEN or in local authority care will ask what support is available for students like them. Our answer is usually to check with individual HE providers when they start doing research. The care leavers, sites like propel.org.uk will show specific support available, including holiday accommodation and named contacts. Unfortunately, for students with disabilities, the information is often a little harder to come by. And we would recommend that if students can't find what they're looking for on a university or college's main site, then they should contact student support teams directly. For some students who have extra time in exams at school or FE college, the progression to higher education and whether they'll have similar support can also be an anxiety. The good news is that universities and colleges want their students to succeed and often have teams available to support with exam arrangements. If a student has had extra time in exams during their level 2 or level 3 studies, such as GCSEs or A-levels, then this can continue at higher education. They will need to contact the relevant student support team once they've received an offer. And when they eventually enrol on their next course, they'll need to make an appointment soon after enrolling so that the support can be arranged. Some students may need to show evidence of a specific learning difference, but this will be on a case-by-case basis. If a student is advised that they do need a dyslexia assessment suitable for university, or if they haven't had an assessment for a dyslexia or other specific learning difference, then they may need to take one before they start their HE course. At university, it's a requirement that a student has evidence of a specific learning difficulty in order to put exam arrangements in place. This could be around extra time or other reasonable adjustments, which may be recommended in the diagnostic report. So a full and formal diagnostic assessment needs to be carried out by either a chartered educational psychologist holding a qualification recognised under the specific learning difficulty working group or the Department for Education and Skills guidelines and registered with the health and care professions, or the assessment needs to be carried out by a specialist teacher assessor holding a qualification recognised under the SPLD working groups /DFES guidelines and a valid assessment practicing certificate issued by either the Dyslexia Guild, the Professional Association of Teachers of Students with Specific Learning Difficulties, or the British Dyslexia Association. Frequently asked question number 4 is, for some students with disabilities, knowing that they will have a student bedroom that supports their needs is important. Again, we would encourage students to check with the individual providers they are interested in studying with. Some sites are really good at showing their accessible rooms, others are a little more opaque, but we would recommend students talking to accommodation teams directly so that they can be made aware of their requirements. We're nearly at the end of the video, and I appreciate that a lot of information has been covered. These are some signposts that we hope you'll find useful, and I'll put these links into the YouTube description. But if you are working with children in need, then some of these higher education resources can be a good place to point them. You could even include them in broader presentations or workshops with students on higher education decision-making so that awareness can be raised without singling students out. If we can normalise talking about the support that's on offer, then hopefully more vulnerable students, whether they're known to you or not, will see higher education as an option for them. Over on the Pathways social media, we have loads of content designed to help students learn more about the range of higher education options available to them. Our Instagram has lots of student ambassador content that gives an insight into student life, and we also advertise a number of our own events there too. Twitter is often used to signpost and raise awareness of opportunities going on across different areas. We've also got our main website, which signposts to our events and resources that can be used to research future decisions. We have a number of videos on YouTube too, including some student panels with care leavers. If you just search for Pathways EM on YouTube, you should be able to find us. Finally, if you have any questions or would like to get in touch, then please do email us and one of the team will be able to get back to you. Thank you very much for watching. We'd love to know if you've been able to use this information with students in your schools and colleges to help them with their HE decision making.